Hi, welcome to the video. So this afternoon we've just taken a short drive up to near Lake Tinaroo and we're doing the Torpedo track. This is just going to be a small overnight out into the bush. It's already 2 o'clock. It's a short little stroll. We're going to find a nice little camp spot somewhere, set up camp and just enjoy being out in the great outdoors. Hello everyone. So, as we said earlier, we're on a bit of a hike, a very short hike today. It's already late in the afternoon. Just going to do a quick overnight. We're currently walking on the Torpedo track, which overlooks Lake Tinaroo. And we set off late. We're just looking to have a wander up the track, find a nice little camp spot, set up the tent, just relax for the evening. Now, as you can see, I've got quite a big pack on. It's a Denali 60-litre pack. Probably, definitely, more than we need for tonight. However, because it's a short hike, I thought I'd bring a few luxury items with us and we can enjoy ourselves at camp. Do a few little reviews, see what we find of them, how we feel about them. See if we bring them on our next trip. Here we can see some of the damage caused by the bushfires. Well, not damage, but just part of nature's cycle. Last year, 2019, there's some very serious fires in Australia. Luckily in Queensland we didn't have, North Queensland at least, didn't have too many. But there were still some, as it was so hot and dry. This has obviously been a tree that's burnt through and fallen on the ground. Now I actually walked through here not long after the fires and everything in front of you was burnt black. A very quick fire came through, burnt the grass. But that's a good thing. That's what nature needs sometimes. Some of these flowers here are actually designed to germinate once the heat has gone past them, so they sometimes need that fire to burn so that they can germinate. And as you can see, lovely and green now. Aside from a few trees that are burnt with scars and browning, you wouldn't have known that there was a fire last year. Well, we just had something, didn't go across the path, but I certainly saw, as I was walking, a movement of something. It looked bigger than a normal lizard. Whether it was a snake tail, I'm not sure, but it's the perfect time of day for them to come out. There's a cool breeze, the sun is shining, they'll be basking themselves in the sun, trying to warm up, get some energy for hunting at night time. So, got to keep our eyes peeled. This time of year up here can be quite dry. We have had some rain in the last few days, so that's all been catching and funneling down into this little creek here. So if we needed to, we could take that water and filter it. Now along our hike here, we are basically walking gently uphill in this narrow gully formed between that mountain in the distance over there and the higher ground to my left here. Now crisscrossing that there are smaller creeks like this one here, And before even getting there, you can actually tell the difference in the grass, how green it is compared to the grass on the higher ground. So that would tell me the water's flowing straight off that higher ground into the creek, heading downstream, and will be collecting in Tinaroo Lake. And just the lushness of this grass here, combined with being in the shade, tells us there would be a good chance of water here. Not today, however. Not been enough rain. But it's a good thing to look out for, that narrow green strip of lush grass. Could indicate water being present in a creek. Now behind me here, you can hear some of the trees making creaking, like strange sounds as the winds blow. It's not doing it for us now. Hear that? That high-pitched noise. Hopefully you can hear it over the wind. Now that's something really careful to be considerate of when you're out in the bush, or anytime you're going camping. Always be considerate of what's above you when you set up your camp. Whether you're hammock camping or in a tent or a bivvy or whatever shelter you're making, always have a good look up and look out for what's known as, what are they called? Words escaped me. Widowmakers, that's the one. Widowmakers. They're the branches of trees that without warning crash off, fall down, and have been known to kill people. Up here, chances are what that's probably caused by is termites or some kind of infestation of the tree eating through into the hollows. Without warning, gust of wind stresses that limb, down it comes. Good night, Vienna. And listen out for those noises, always look above you, find somewhere safe to camp always. A little while earlier we were talking about the bushfires that came through this area last year. Nothing too major, luckily, just enough to burn away the grass. However, some of the big trees, probably the ones that were rotten and hollow on the insides, did fall because of it. And this one here, I remember seeing this one soon after it had burned and collapsed. And for days, even several weeks after the fire had passed through, the heat and the smouldering wood kept going until eventually we can follow the trail of charcoal. The ashes of the wood has formed that black path. That would have been the top of the tree, and eventually it did stop burning. Probably after a few weeks, some rains came through, dampened everything down. But until then, we're heading back to where it first fell down. You can see the charcoal down here. All the way up, probably a distance of 6-7 meters. We've got charcoal down here on the floor. And this is the stump of that said tree. So the fire came through, started burning around the base, maybe hollow, rotten, or diseased tree. It fell down, but the fire was still within the trunk, and it just continued slowly burning over, as I said, a couple of weeks. Now the terrain's starting to get a little steeper. That means we're walking out of that valley we spoke about. We've been walking slowly uphill all the time since we left the car. However, now we're walking out of the valley to the higher ground. As you can see, that ridge along there is starting to rise to a similar level, meaning all that ground we've just walked slowly in that direction. So now we're heading up. Shouldn't expect to see any water on the trails, no creeks. This one walks up a little higher and then starts walking along a few ridge lines with a few different paths connecting them, taking them down to Tinaroo village or some other parts of the track. So we're just going to do a quick experiment here to see how much daylight we have left. Currently it's 2:30 in the afternoon, a lot of glare from that sun. And we're going to use the 4-finger rule to work out how much time we have. The idea is that 4 fingers sat below the sun, count down to the horizon, and each finger gives you 15 minutes of daylight average. Now for us we have to consider that our horizon that we're looking at is actually a hill, so that might actually be earlier than what is the official sunset time. But it gives you a reasonable, accurate guess depending on where in the world you are and how much daylight you've got left. So I'm just going to step out, try and measure that up, and we'll test that later on when we find out when the sun does go behind the hill, what time it was, see how far off we are. That's 3 full hands. Let's estimate the sun going down around 5:30 behind that hill. Gives us 3 hours. Okay, so we're just having a little break up here to take on some water. Beautiful conditions though. Bright blue skies, no clouds, nice cool breeze. Sun's out, it's not too hot. Perfect hiking weather. Best time of year to come hiking. Well, we're nearly at the top of this, coming out of this valley, and very soon we'll be on to a ridge that connects along to another ridge, which is known as bush ranges. Now the scouts come up here and they do abseiling off of the bush ranges. It's a big overhanging cliff, probably 20 or 30 meters of abseil. Part of that is an overhang, so very exciting for the kids, very exciting for the adults as well. But soon we're going to start looking for somewhere to camp. We're just going to be looking around in this grassy area here, somewhere relatively flat, off of the track, and we'll start looking to get camp set up. Today is just a very relaxed day, coming out enjoying this beautiful countryside surroundings, getting out in the bush. So I've brought with me a book. I've got the new lightweight camp chair to tell you about later. It'll be very comfortable to camp. As we said earlier today, it's not about going really lightweight, doing lots of distance. It's just about a bit of fun, so we've got a few little things to come in and make ourselves nice and comfortable in camp. Might even be able to find a hip flask in here, you never know. So yeah, looking forward to that this afternoon. We're going to aim to get off the track a good 100 meters or so. It's not that we're not allowed to be camping here, but if we are, we should be as discreet as possible. And this is a popular track, so maybe early in the morning you might have hikers coming through. It's just respectful to get off the track, not making yourself an eyesore. Even though the tent is green, blends in with the bush. Just want to be respectful for everyone else to enjoy this beautiful place. scrambling on those rocks earlier and cut my finger open. So I'm just going to get the old first aid kit out, do a bit of a clean up. So nothing to worry about, it's just a bit of a cut. Obviously we want to try and keep it clean. Let's just have a look what we've got in here. Trusty super glue. I think all this is going to need a little band-aid and a bit of a clean up. Skin cleansing wipe, a bit of alcohol. And this is why I carry something like super glue on all my first aid kits. Super glue, perfect for gluing yourself up if the cut's a bit too deep. That's all they would do in hospital. We'll clean that up. A good cut actually. That'll do. We'll see what it looks like when we get to camp. Syringe for irrigating wounds. Don't forget, every time we camp, leave no trace. Whatever we pack in, we bring out. So all of this coming with me. Make sure we haven't dropped anything. Keep this safe in my pocket. Dispose of it later. Now that we're on the ridgeline, we're getting a lot of flatter ground. So we're keeping our eyes open for a suitable spot. Just want to try and be off the path as much as possible. Well, this looks like it might be our campsite. It's reasonably flat here. I think it's the flattest we're going to get. We've still got a bit of sun coming through, giving us some light. Just looking up above us. That tree is not directly above. I'm happy with that. A relatively flat spot here on the top of one of the ridges. So we're just going to clear this out. Just look for any of these broken bits of rock. Toss them aside so we can get a nice footprint for the tent. It's really comfortable. Looks relatively flat. We won't know till we lie down, so I'll put the tent up, get in, find out which end is slightly lower. That'll be for my feet. It's always good to have your head at the higher end. Doesn't look steep enough that I'll be sliding down inside the tent at night time, which has happened before. And then also in front of us here we've got this really nice rocky flat plate, so we can use that as our surface for a very small campfire. I'm not going to do anything too crazy tonight, just a little bit of fire to have. We don't need to cook on it, but we can boil water, a little bit of extra light. And hey, campfire's bush TV, right? What I'll also be doing for the campfire is moving away any of this excess wood, or being careful not to damage this tree. But make enough of a clearing, kick the grass away, so we've got a nice clearing around the fire. It's not going to get big, but we just want to make sure that we can control it. And any of this dry grass that's leaning into the fire pit might cause it to creep further out. So we'll make a bit of a safety perimeter around that stone. We'll have a nice little fire in the middle. It's about 3:30 right now. Let's get camp set up. So the problem, trying to camp on the top of a ridgeline in a mountainous area like this, guess what? It's all made of rock. This topsoil is only about an inch thick. And everything underneath it is solid rock. So we won't have a fully guyed out tent tonight, but that's okay, we'll just put gear in the corner. So this is the tent, we've got it set up. We managed to get a peg under that root, lashed off to a rock on this side, and inside the tent we'll just have to put our bag in the corner. So this is the Volde, I'm not sure what model type it is, but this has been a long serving tent. This tent has been used pretty much all over the world for the last 20 years and still holding up strong. The only maintenance I've really done out for it is given it a re-waterproofing a couple of times. Fantastic tent, never let me down. It's got that great tapered back there so you can angle it into the wind. And very comfortable for one with the gear. Open it up and roll it out. So this one is the Denali 3/4 length or Trek short mat. it doesn't cover your feet. That's fine. And because it might get down to less than 10, cold night, huh? I did bring the down sleeping bag, which is a life venture. I got this second hand actually, from someone who's at a hostel. And they said, I don't want it. So I said, I'll take it. Alright, so I'll leave those to loft up, get the air in the mattress and the bag, and let's go get some firewood. There's so much wood around, you can afford to be picky. You feel a bit of wood, and it just doesn't have the weight and body to it like it should. Chances are, because it's been eaten out by termites. We'll just leave it to them. This is a good bit of wood. Reminds me of a funny story I heard once about a bunch of scouts actually up here at Tinaroo. They were at Camp Barabadeen one weekend and they were sent out to look for firewood. And you hear the scouts shouting, I've got a bit, I found a piece. And then someone picks up a good solid bit of hardwood like this. But they've been scorched by a passing bushfire. So it got black on one side. To hear the rest of the kids say, oh, you can't burn that, it's already been burnt before. Hey, so we've got camp set up, we've got our tent behind us, we've got the camping mat and the sleeping bag all laid out, ready for tonight. So all this time it's just going to start lofting up and give us that insulation that we need. And with the camping mat we'll blow a couple of breaths into it, just to get it nice and soft and comfortable for the evening. We started collecting some firewood, so it's about 4 o'clock now, 4:15. Don't need to light the fire just yet, but I did say I had a few surprises for us when we get to camp, and this is one of them. So, this is something that you're not going to consider taking on every hike, particularly if it's a long hike, a long mileage, you've already got more gear, but this is certainly a luxury for those light low mileage hikes. You just want to get out in the bush. Definitely something for kayak camping. This will tuck into a kayak very nicely, but it is designed as a lightweight hiking chair. That's right. If you pull up to camp after a long day on the hiking the trails, you pull out this bad boy, get it set up, you'll be the talk of the campfire and you'll get some jealous looks around you, but hey, you're going to be comfortable for the evening. So let's have a look. First of all, the bag itself, this didn't come with it. This is a handmade replacement. I had to make this up myself. The material of the chair, let's get this chair out, is a very heavy duty yet lightweight ripstop material. The poles themselves are the aluminium. However, I left mine in the car. Here up in far north Queensland, the sun is brutally hot, and the bag itself actually started to melt and disintegrate. The chair itself is fine, but I did need a replacement stuff sack. So this was just knocked up on the sewing machine, a little stuff sack, the dimensions that we need, a little zip sewn in. Probably cost $1 to make, considering the zip is from an old sleeping bag from a thrift shop. This nylon, ripstop lightweight nylon from the craft store, you buy it by the yard, so I've got so much left to make stuff sacks and other bags, but that's the coverall. Let's get down to business. So with this chair here, very simple, no instructions, it's just simply two parts, the canvas and the legs. The legs are actually all together with an elastic shock cord, so you can't lose them. Pop them in the holes, you can't go wrong. It literally takes start to finish be about 30 seconds. Once the frame's set, the back of the material in the corners has reinforced little pockets for the ends of the aluminium poles to go into. Slide on the back ones first. Now, can you imagine getting this set up while everyone else is sitting on a rock, sitting on a log, aching and sore? And you've got one more little chore to do in camp, and that's to set up your camp chair. They want to be jealous, I bet you. And there we have it. The Denali lightweight camping hike chair. So glad I bought it today. Let's try out this bad boy. Oh. Now that is something else. The sun is setting. We'll get the fire going tonight. You might be able to find that hip flask in the backpack, or if you had another type of beverage you could enjoy. What a way to spend some time in the bush in your lightweight hiking camp chair. Okay, so the sun is getting down pretty low now. It's just before 5 o'clock. It's getting a bit chilly in the air, actually. It's going to be a cold night. I thought I'd have a pre-dinner cup of coffee, but I didn't bring a cup, which is rather silly. So I've got my water bottle here. I'm going to have to use the cap of the bottle as a cup. You know, you're going to make do with what you've got. Well, what we're going to do, I'm not going to get the fire going just yet, but we're going to use my penny stove, or hobo stove as they're sometimes called. Pretty much the same concept as a trangia, but probably cost me nothing to make. What it is, the penny stove is the two aluminium tins. These are two Coke can tins with the two ends pushed into each other with some cotton wool in there inside to absorb the alcohol, which is actually going to be methylated spirits we're using today. And around the outside we've got these little dots, and it's going to create a sort of jet burner effect. So what we do, an old jam jar lid, and I've also got they're called penny stoves because once it's lit you put a little penny in the middle and it creates the jets of the fire. But instead of a penny, I'm actually using the pull tab of the Coke can. So it didn't even cost me a penny. Okay, so it's lit now. I'm going to put the little hot stove over it. So there's our penny stove. And what we had to do is put some alcohol or metho in the jam jar lid. That heats up the can, creates a back pressure. Now we're starting to see the ring of jets of fuel burning like a stove. I don't want to waste any of that heat, so I'm going to get this billy on. While I'm waiting for the billy to boil, I'll just go through some of the extra layers of clothing I brought with me for tonight. Very small pack. This is Mountain Equipment Co-op from Canada, one of their Sil nylon dry stuff sacks, which is awesome. Really scrunches it down, but can be up to that long. It's an 8-litre sack. Love this thing, really keeps the gear compressed and dry, which is super important when we're talking thermal top. I'm going to get that on soon. Beanie, and the old trusty favourite, the down jacket. This one's actually a Mountain Warehouse version, which I picked up second hand in a thrift shop in Canada, in Vancouver, and 15 bucks I think, and it's a fantastic jacket, really keeps me warm. How's my hair look? So we're about to get the fire all lit. We've built up a little bit of a platform on the cold earth, just to try and raise it off of that cold earth so it doesn't take any of the heat out of the initial burning of the tinder. We've got really tiny little twigs we picked up, very dry. That's going to go on top of our burning tinder, and we've built a bit of a framework, like a log cabin effect around the fire, so that can start taking and heating up and burning immediately. For tonight, we're just going to use very simple cotton wool and Vaseline. And we'll use the flint and steel to strike it up. We have the fire going, and we've got dinner down there in the little billy. Tonight we've got sweet and sour chicken with pasta. It is now dinner time. Let's take the billy off the fire. So we have sweet and sour chicken with pasta for dinner. Boiling in there much longer than needed. Sweet and sour chicken with pasta. This is one of the British Army military ration packs. Now this one was good best before the end of July 2019. So in the scheme of things, that's pretty current. So what I'll do, it's very hot, so I'm just going to give it a little massage to make sure all the heat is well distributed. Squish it down as low as it goes. And there's actually a rip-off tab here, so you just tear it off and eat out of the bag. It is rather warm, so I'm going to wrap it up in my buff. It's a bit of a cosy, and enjoy dinner. It smells good. Don't want to lose any of it. Sweet and sour chicken with pasta by the fire. Morning. Oh, so it's 7:45. Slept all long time. Not all the way through. I was up in and out of sleep for a little while. And the last few hours have been pretty cold. Whew. I've been lying on different sides, curled up. But yeah, slept a while. So now, time to get up
get the pony stove heating up some water, have a brew, have some breakfast, and start thinking about packing up camp. So breakfast is ready. We've got more water on the boil for our coffee. Our all-day breakfast from the British Army military ration packs is all-day breakfast. We've got sausages, bacon, beans. Very hot, very tasty. Let's dig in. I've got something else to try and show you this morning. The coffee rocket from GSI Outdoors.